we're on. There we go. Cool. So I'm going to hand over to the lovely Kirsten.
I'm so sorry. Before you do, can I just say hello to everyone and introduce myself if I don't already know you? Sorry, Kirsten. I'm probably not going to stay on the call for much longer, but just wanted to say hello. I'm Samina Beckford. I'm just back off maternity leave as project manager for DLG. So I'm around, but I won't be on every single learning and skills call. But yeah, just to say hello and thank you, Katie, for organising this. Really well done.
Thank you. Right, I'm just going to share my screen with you all. And then I'm going to pop PowerPoint on. Oh, I've lost it. Where's it gone? Joys of technology. Thank you for all coming along this morning as well. I appreciate you giving up your time on a Tuesday mornings. And it is World Mental Health Day today, which just coincided lovely with this session. So like we're right on the mark. Well done, Katie, with that one, even if it was accidental. So I'm just going to pop this up. And then once I've got this sorted, typical, now my computer's been really slow. Had it all sorted and it's just disappeared. So sorry about this. Where's it gone? We get there. Can you all see that?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Right. So, as Katie said, I'm Kirsten. Welcome to this morning. So I know most of you know me as a freelance producer, project manager, but I'm also a qualified health and wellness coach. So I've kind of got two hats, which is very nice this morning that they're kind of coming together, which is why I volunteered to do this session. I'm also a mom. I've got a fur baby and two very strong-minded young girls, aged 3 and 4 as well. The body's always fascinated me, and as I've grown older, I've just become more and more fascinated with the whole self, so everything that involves us, so body, brain, mind, everything. I've also lived experiences of some poor mental health. I suffered quite badly from anxiety in my early 20s, and I've also supported my now husband through quite a period of severe depression as well. So I've got some kind of lived experiences, some poor mental health. And I've been on my own journey. I've had coaching sessions probably about 8 years ago now, I think, and I just found them really useful. I think they really changed my perspective on things, my confidence, particularly. And I kind of wanted to apply this to health and wellness because it's my interest and my passion. So that's kind of where I've ended up, really. And I do find there's lots of crossovers in my work, working with communities and arts practitioners, as well as in health and wellness. I find there's loads and loads of links, which is just really lovely. So that's why I put myself forward for today. Let me just give you a little bit of a context. Still working out. Oops, well, gone too fast. So I just thought we'd start today with a little bit of housekeeping. Just to say that it's a safe space, to be honest, and to share. So please respect other people when they're speaking. I'm sure you will. And just not to share, obviously, anything outside the group. I know Katie's filming some of this now, but we'll cut off kind of towards the end. Or if there's anything that you don't want shared that you've said on here, we can take that out or edit it. So, and yeah, at any time, if you want to remove yourself, you can. That's absolutely fine. There's no pressure to stay on here, or turn your screens off if you need to. All those kind of things. So, go with the flow. Do what you need to do. Is that all right with everybody? Great. Okay. So I thought we'd start with a quick check-in. So just to say our name, our pronouns, one word of how we're feeling today, sum us up, and why you're here, really, as well. So we can just kind of gauge why you're here. So I'll start if you want. So obviously my name's Kirsten. My pronouns are she, her. I'm feeling really energetic today, actually. which is very contrast to the weekend where I didn't feel energetic at all. So that's quite nice. And obviously I'm here to do this session with you today, which is an absolute pleasure. So if anybody wants to volunteer to go next.
I'll go for the answer. Hi guys, I'm Katie. I know it says cat program, but I am Katie. I think I know all of you anyway. My pronouns are she, her, and today I am, in a word, just feeling poorly. I'm just pretending it's not. And I'm really here, well, firstly, as kind of coordinator of the Learning and Skills Center, but also just to learn. So I'm in my second year of freelancing, and this is where I started like hitting those wellness bumps. So just to kind of take it all in, learn, see how I can actually make my practice healthy moving forward.
Hey everyone, I'm Amelia and my pronouns are she, her, or you can just call me Amelia. I think today I feel very calm, actually. And the reason that I'm here is to, I think like Katie, just to kind of learn and gather some tools for my own practice, but also I was thinking, Kirsten, as you were speaking about, you know, supporting your family and supporting others, I think picking up tools for that as well, because I have similar experiences. So yeah, just nice to come to a warm space this morning. So thank you for setting this up.
Morning, everyone. I'm Lexi, she, her, the pronouns. Feel a bit spaced out today, but not too bad. And I'm here because I'm very fresh into total freelance, literally like a week in. So it's a bit daunting, and I want to, set up on this space and then hopefully know where I'm at and prepare myself properly. So yeah.
Hi guys, I'm Frankie Goodinson, and my pronouns are she, her. I was feeling really calm and I just spilled my coffee all over the desk. I hope you can hear me. So I've just dealt with that. I'm looking forward to today. I kind of like Lexi, I'm part-time working for a company, but looking to kind of re-emerge as a freelance artist. And I want to make sure that I come back to the art sector with resilience and tools that I'm able to have longevity in my career as well as my mental health. So yeah.
Samina still here?
Yeah, I'm still here. Sorry, I've got my camera off. I'm working as well. I am Samina, pronouns she, her. I am well into this freelance life, probably about 20 years deep now. So I am here because I think it's a great opportunity to learn and just to keep kind of connecting to people, as well as obviously being DRG project manager. That's a freelance role as well in itself. So hopefully here to learn and to connect a bit more.
Great, that's everybody, isn't it? Oh, I'm struggling to see everybody on the screen. But yeah. Oh, Anna. Sorry, Anna.
Oh, that's all right. Don't worry. Hi everyone. I'm Anna. My pronouns are she, her. I'm here. I feel a little bit depleted, as mentioned, a bit unwell today, but I'm thrilled to be here. Excuse me. So the reason I've joined, I've been freelancing for a long time, but I've never quite struck the balance right. So I was just first of all keen to kind of participate in one of these sessions anyway, because I think it's great that the DLG are putting them on. So thank you. But also, yeah, just always looking for advice, guidance, connection on how to maintain well-being and balance, as we've all mentioned, for longevity, and just to pick up any further tips, really. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Thanks everybody for sharing. And it's nice to hear this kind of a real mixture of people in the group, some kind of people starting out and some really experienced people as well. So do feel free to give any ideas, suggestions throughout the time here as well, because all your opinions and voices are all really valid. So please do chime in. So what I wanted to start with really was what is wellness. So this has gone way back somewhere. I don't know what I've just done. My technological skills today are not very good, are they? Here we go. Let's try again. There we go. So I looked at the dictionary, and what is wellness? And it came up with this. So the state of feeling healthy and happy. So I have a little bit of about using the word happy. I think happy, there's lots of connotations, there's lots of pressures around the word happy. So I'm going to go with a bit of a better word. Well, I think it's a better word. I'm going to put peace or peaceful, the state of feeling healthy and at peace or peaceful. Because I think actually that better describes kind of what wellness is really in a nutshell. But essentially, it's about finding a state of balance. So Annie, you just used that word about balance, striking the balance right. And we are always going to be in a constant state of flux. You know, we're never going to be always on the mark, but it's how close to the mark can we get? How can we find that balance that works for you as you shift, as you develop, and as you transform over time, you know, and throughout your career as well. So what we're going to do today is to kind of look over a few tips and some things for you to think about that might help you. And then we're going to do a bit of a group coaching session towards the end, if that's okay with everybody. Does that sound all right? Yeah, you don't have to take part if you don't want to, it's absolutely fine. So, doing well with this today, am I? Sorry. Let's go back. Really, there we go. So, what is coaching and what is group coaching? So has anybody had coaching before? No, I'm getting no's. Anybody? Or does anybody know what coaching is? Who wants to take a guess?
I mean, I've had a mentor. I currently have a mentor. I don't know if they're similar, really. But I guess somebody that just supports you and you can speak out kind of anything that's internal and get some outside perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. So I tend to think of it as, so I mentioned a mentor there. So a mentor is normally somebody who will give you advice, who you can kind of chat backwards and forwards with, but their primary role is to help support you, give you advice, really. Normally on a specific subject. So it might be another artist that you're talking to who might be your mentor, who's a more experienced artist and maybe able to give you some tips, you know, helpful advice, put you in touch with people. Then there's counselling, which is kind of looking back into the past, looking at kind of things that might happen to you, your experiences, why you behave like you do, kind of help give you some answers, potentially go over kind of past traumas. And then there's training, which is normally like learning something specific. So you might go on, I don't know, Instagram training to learn how to use Instagram, for example. So you're going away with a specific set of skills. So coaching is different because coaching is kind of covers all of those things, but it's very much about you. So it's looking at where you are now, where you want to get to, and then how you're going to get there. And a good coach asks questions. That's what they do. They prompt you, they ask the right questions, and it's about you discovering for yourself, really, where your pain points are, where your barriers are, and the things that might be able to help you. And sometimes we don't know we've got all the answers, but we have. And it's just helping somebody kind of bring those out of yourself, make you accountable for those things, kind of set you up in the right way. So it really is about holding space, kind of guiding people and asking the right questions. So we are going to do some of that today. I'm also going to give you quite a lot of information and things to think about today as well. So we're also going to look at what your barriers might be, what your limiting beliefs are. And by that, I mean where you hold yourself. So I might be like, oh no, I can't do that. Or why can't I do that? You know, that's something that I put in my head. Nobody's told me I can't do that. I just think I can't do that. That's kind of what a limited belief is. Reframing your thoughts again, so kind of looking at things from a different perspective. And we're going to ask a lot of questions around your motivation as well. So how can we find your motivation? What really is your motivation? Because sometimes we think there are things that are kind of on the surface level, and actually there's lots of things underneath that. And then again, looking at some of the reasons why you behave like you do, think or feel the way you do as well. So tend to be with coaching, I believe in a kind of whole person approach, because I think we have lots of elements in our lives and there's lots of things that impact on us. So there's not necessarily like a one size fits all answer. There's not necessarily quick fixes. But I think with the right support and the right guidance, you can kind of get to where you want to be over a period of time as well. So we're going to talk about why you are important. So I'll put lots of photos up on here. Why are you important? Why is your wellness important? Because you are your own business. You're not a painting, you're not an object, you're not even like a service really. You are, but you're not. So you're your number one priority, so you should be looking after yourself for so many reasons, because of all of those reasons. Now, I appreciate there's going to be lots of kind of barriers and challenges in the way as to why you might not be taking care of yourself as well as you should. So we're going to look at those kind of things now. So I want you to just think a little bit about what your challenges and what your barriers are. So currently, what ones you've had in the past, and the same for other people. Again, what might be barriers or challenges for you in terms of looking at your health and wellness. Just want to take a minute to think about that. You can write stuff down if you want, or you can draw, or whatever works for you. And then if anybody wants to share, you're welcome to share.
I'm happy to share because I really want to actually use you, Kirsten. Sorry. I've got two kind of specific barriers. They kind of do link together a little bit, but the first one is around time. So like, just firstly, time as in just the amount of time you've got in the day just to achieve whatever you can possibly, but also it's really difficult for me because my partner he's in the police, so he works on shifts. So it's really difficult. Let's say he's got the whole Monday to Thursday off, he's got that 4-day block, and he's like, let's go shopping, let's do this, let's do this. So like prioritize. No, I'm working my business, although we can't spend time together, if that makes sense.
Right.
So they both link to each other. So I don't know how, it's a bit of a brain baffle for me.
Okay, so time and kind of prioritising. Time really is the thing, isn't it? Prioritising.
Yeah, but then that balance of like, how do I see my fiance, even though I'm supposed to be working in that point, and if he's on his shifts on Saturday and Sunday, I can't then. That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. We're going to come back to kind of these questions at the end a little bit, but this is just to kind of tease out a few things. Does anybody else have any other barriers? And perhaps time is a one for you as well. Yeah, Anna?
I'm happy to share. I think a barrier for me, or certainly a concern, is financial, how you survive. How you certainly, I'm at a point where, trying to commit to buying a house, etc. Like that kind of long-term financial planning mixed with another barrier being the uncertainty and the unpredictability of freelancing. So how you can make long-term financial commitments with the uncertainty of work that might be more project-based, that you don't know what's going to happen next year, never mind in 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, so certainly finances.
But also just linked to Katie, sorry if that's okay, if I might add one more, is that, something I also struggle with. It's slightly different, but also, and I don't know if I feel like this might come up, is around the boundaries of your working hours. So as you're discussing, because a lot of what we do is perhaps working from home, answering emails, is that kind of how you define your boundaries of when you are and aren't working. And I often find things like planning and admin, certainly delivery can be fixed, but those kind of things that happen around it can go on, and I can find myself replying to emails late at night, and I've suddenly realised, you haven't got the quality time to spend with family or partners, etc.
Yeah, that's a really good one, and we will talk about that a little bit further on. So thank you. Oh, somebody else?
I think one that connects with Anna's for me is to do with location, and it like the finances connect with that because I'm not that close to any hub. So to go and do things or to find work, I almost have to travel further, and you have to balance what's cost efficient and what you're making the most of it with in terms of your time, but also financially, and then what you put in is it training, is it work, all of this kind of stuff. And it's like location is not something you can shift just like that, because it's just where you are and the money you have to live where you are. And I find that quite difficult. And it comes with motivation as well, in terms of getting out and traveling to do an hour's workshop or an hour's worth of delivery for work. And then like, yeah.
Absolutely.
Can I add something as well to Anna's point as well? I find that obviously, you know, the barriers like with yourself, with time, with finances and stuff. Sometimes I find other freelancers, because we don't have like these boundaries, they can be a barrier as well, where another freelancer is happy to be paid for 2 days a week and work 7 days a week. And if you actually physically can't afford to do that, then how do you actually, I don't know, present yourself as a freelancer? So sometimes I feel like, obviously I have my own, we all have our own personal ones. I'm not blaming other people at all, but sometimes, you know, one person can spoil it for everyone basically, or, you know, the way we all work can be against each other, if you know what I mean.
That's a really interesting point, Samina. Definitely. I'm just going to say hello to Claire, who's joined us. Hello, Claire. We're just discussing barriers around health and wellness at the moment, so feel free to chip in if you want. Does anybody else have anything else? Yeah, Frankie?
Mine's just a little one, but mine's like the saying no or saying yes, kind of like paradigm.
Yeah.
So I think one thing of thinking that you need to say yes to everything, whether that's for finance or for exposure or whatever it is. But then also, I think this ties into well-being in terms of and I did this recently with something, I said, no, I'm not staying later. And it wasn't for work, it wasn't for money, it was genuinely, I just wanted that time for myself and I knew I needed it. But also being aware, am I letting someone down? So being able to hold a boundary and stick with that and still feel like you're a reliable worker and employee for someone, even though you're not kind of, and it was outside of what I get paid for, but I still felt guilty for holding that boundary for myself. So being able to navigate that and then still kind of end the day and go, I'm okay with the fact that I didn't go above and beyond for free. And I think, that's something, especially as someone that's like emerging, it feels almost cheeky to do that, which it shouldn't do, because this is like a basic need.
Okay, so sometimes it's the setup that we're in as well then, and the expectations of maybe yourself and other people in the room. Okay, so I think you've mentioned most things, but yeah, these are the lists that I kind of put together, which I think you've mentioned most of. So yeah, absolutely, it's financial. You know, it, especially at the moment, you know, cost of living is extremely high. Do freelancers get paid that well? So what's the question mark? So yeah, absolutely, money is a barrier for many people. Time, as you've mentioned, again, the amount of time to do everything. How do we section our time? How do we make sure that we're getting everything done in our day, but at the same time still making time for our families? Absolutely. I've also put health and mental health down here, because again, they can come into play, whether that's your physical health, you know, something that you're going to take longer to get to the bus because you've got a bad ankle or whatever it is, you know, your physical health, or your mental health. You know, how does your mental health play out in all of this as well? If you don't feel well in the morning, what do you do? Do you call up and ring sick, or are you still going in, pushing yourself through it? You know, thinking about those things as well. Going back to what you kind of said, Frankie, I kind of feel like this comes under the societal factors, you know, what's expected, what's, you know, what people think, or what you think other people think about you if you behave in a certain way, and how you deal with that. Absolutely. Going back to Lexi's conversation about location and travel. I live in a village. I can't get out of my village without a car. So I can't walk anywhere. So those kind of things, taking things into consideration. Is it on your doorstep? Do you have to travel an hour to get somewhere? Is that an hour you're not being paid? Is it another hour that you're having to pay extra transport for? You know, all of those things come into play. Your motivation, obviously we talked about this a little bit, but yeah, if you're not, you know, what is your motivation for going somewhere, for doing something, for showing up? You know, are you clear about that? Is that clear in your head why you're turning up? Sorry, excuse me. Relationships as well with other people. Again, kind of touching on when you said, Frank, what are you letting somebody down? Do you feel you're letting somebody down? Is somebody else holding you back? There's lots of things, you're talking about considering your partner, Katie, in all of the things that you do. Is it a family member? Is it friends? What people think about your work, if that's a real job, we will have those conversations. And then the last one, obviously, I put down there is access. Can you fully commit to something? Are you fully enabled to get there? Are you fully enabled to be part of whatever it is that you're going to? Access can be a huge barrier for people on all sorts of levels, where that's about getting into a building or feeling that something is for them, or somebody speaking the right language. All of those things can come into play. So they're all our kind of challenges. So I don't want to start off with a kind of negative frame, because these are the things that we're going to work with. But I think sometimes it's just being aware of those things and then going, okay, so this is what I'm working with, but what can I do about it? And they're turning things into actionable steps that we can do. Now, we do this in coaching by doing things slowly. So starting small and then increasing them if we can. I'm going to ask the question, would you do a marathon without a training program? No. So that's why we start small. And quite often the conversation I have with lots of people when I'm coaching them is it's an all or nothing scenario. And this comes up a lot of times when we kind of go, well, I've got to do all of this, or I just don't do any of it. Or if I don't do all of it, I've failed. And it's that kind of cycle. So we're going to start small and build up. That's the most progressive way and forward way and positive way to think about things. So cool. Does anybody have any questions at this point? No, cool. Just shout out if you do. So I'm going to try and work this thing again. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but there we go. So in order to uncover our why, what is our why? In order to uncover our why, what is our motivation? What are our priorities in life? So I just want you to think a little bit about what your why is. Why do you do the job you do? What is it about that makes you get up every day and go to work, go and deliver that class, go and tour, go and make your own work, whatever it is? What is your motivation? What is your why? And sometimes ask a bit deeper, when you kind of think you've got your question, ask again, but why? But why? And keep going until you can't answer it anymore, because then you'll really find the reason why that you're doing something. Just think a bit about that, and also about what your kind of main priorities are. So that could be, you want to prioritize your family, or you want to prioritize your health, or prioritize your making your own work and get it out there. Whatever that is, it doesn't matter what it is. This is yours, and I've underlined your, because I think it's really important to be clear about these are your priorities, not anybody else's. Not because you're doing it for anybody else. What are the single things that are motivating you? But sometimes that's quite hard to answer when you've not really thought about it, especially for some of you that are maybe quite new or early on in your careers. I had a conversation with somebody at the DLG meeting the other day, actually, about I thought I'd just kind of fell into working with certain types of people or certain organisations. And when I look back at it now, I think, no, I made very clear choices about the people I worked with and the reasons why I worked with them. But at the time, I don't think I ever registered that or ever even thought about it. But it's quite interesting. Would anybody like to share? Don't have to.
I will. I've tried to answer this one recently, and I find it quite difficult because I think they're quite separate in terms of a personal why and a kind of work why. So like, I think my motivation generally as a person is everything around family and like my friend bubble, and having time to spend and do experiences with those. So I guess in that sense, a bit of a why is financial freedom, but also time freedom to allow that, because I've always felt like my work bubble and my personal social bubble are very disjointed and they don't cross over, which I struggle with. So that's an element of it. And then I think in terms of what motivates me in work, or why I'm trying to do what I'm doing, is because one, I feel a lot of reward from helping people out, regardless of if it's painting something for my mum at home or delivering a dance class and seeing somebody achieve something. It's like there's something about helping people out and the reward from that, and creating spaces that allow people to ask me for help. And then anything that's quite physical and hands-on, I enjoy doing, and creative. So yeah, I think they're my whys, but I feel like they're quite hard to merge together. So yeah.
I feel like you've just said things that are the same. You just said about helping people and creating space to help people.
I think I feel like they're separate because they cross over, and the kind of core motivation is very similar across different like people or groups, but they never feel like they line up or connect. So which one I'm trying to balance the most? Is it the family? Is it the work aspect and that kind of thing?
In terms of your priorities, then you feel
I guess so. Yeah.
Okay. If somebody said, ideally, how would you spend your time on a percentage rating?
More so with my family and experiences at home, probably.
Okay. So like what, 60, 70? What are you kind of saying on a percentage rating?
About 60%.
Okay. And then work stuff about 40%.
I would, and this is obviously a naive, I'm aware of this thought process, but I would love to not have to work, as everyone I imagine, love to not have to work for money and just work because I'm receiving something from it. So that would probably be less if I was blue sky thinking, and I wouldn't have to work ever, but I'd choose to work because it's what motivates me to do things every day, rather than it being for the financial pay and work and that kind of stuff.
Okay. And do you feel rewarded at the moment when you do your work? Do you feel rewarded? Do you feel that reward when you do your work, regardless of whether you're getting paid or not? Do you feel that reward?
It's difficult at the moment because I'm not working a lot, because it's a very recent shift. But I did some stuff last week, and it literally really lit a fire doing a day of delivery and teaching. So yeah.
Because I think this is quite an interesting conversation. We could probably talk a long time about this, but about kind of finances and versus kind of the reward that you get, and the reason why this is the why what lights your fire. So it's thinking about those things, and is the stuff you're doing really lighting the fire? You're getting that, I'm doing this because I love it, not because I'm getting paid. We need to get paid, and we shouldn't be apologetic for that. You have to pay for things. Our world exists with financial burden. We have to pay for things, and you have to get paid in your job, otherwise you won't be able to live, and therefore you won't be able to do the things that you want to do. So there's quite an interesting conversation around that. I think we could go down that rabbit hole, but we haven't got time today. So but just that's really interesting. Thanks for sharing that, Lexi. And I would just consider that kind of percentage about how much you want to spend and how much you want, and that's the thing that you're striving for then, are those things. And it's not saying you might get there, you might not get there, but if you know that's what you're working towards, you've got kind of a goal to work towards. And I think when you look at it in kind of figures about how much you're spending your time, I remember somebody saying to me, well, what are you spending your time on? And I was like, probably like 90% writing applications. I hate applications. Why are you doing it then? You think, actually, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? This is what I want to do. So, and you realise then that's the reason why actually I'm not enjoying this, or I'm not really bothered about getting up for work that day, because it's not lighting the fire. So just think about motivation a little bit. Does anybody else want to share? That's fine. I can't see everybody. Sorry, if you're putting your hand up, just shout out. Sorry. Katie,
I'll share a quick one. And I think for me, it's kind of a selfish reason that the motivation is that I love the feeling of success. So I'm a producer because I created that thing. Like I achieved that, and look at all these people that are like loving it because I did it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's like a selfish thing, and then it's based in the arts because that's like my one true love, and has always been. All of us in the arts, you know, we were like 3 years old and went, I'm going to be a dancer. So like it kind of went hand in hand for how can I create that feeling for myself achieving, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I don't think that's selfish at all. Yeah. We're all in it for some reason. That's not a selfish reason. Thank you, Katie. Right, anybody else before I move on? So just thinking about this as well, and in terms with your kind of health and wellness, so your physical and your mental and your emotional and all levels of your health and wellness should be intertwined and in line with your priorities. So this is why I think it's really important to start here to think about what is the things that switch you on, you know, what's your motivation and what are your priorities and what are you working towards, I think, because then we've got something to kind of go, is this serving me? No, it's not. And where do I need to make changes? So that's why I've kind of put this first. So I'm going to move on. So I found it quite hard to kind of go through this presentation. I went through various ways of kind of talking about things, but so I have split them up into physical health and kind of mental and emotional health, but they all are together. They're all interlinked. So I just kind of wanted to say that. So physical health, what do we need in order to stay physically well for you? So this is for you, it's not for anybody else. We've all got different bodies, we've all got different needs. I just want you to have a think about what is it that you need. You know, I mean, are you all dancing, or you're some producing, some, we've got a bit of a mixture of a group, haven't we, today? Some teachers, a bit of a mix. So I'd like to think that as dancers or people who work in dance, that you have a good understanding of your own body. Probably more than the average person, but how much you listen to it, do you think? Are you good at listening to your own body? I'm getting some smiles like, no. It's interesting, isn't it? So what do you need? What are your limits, and how far can you push your body? Will you push your body? What's the right amount? And like I said, for everybody that will be different. And do you have people or services that you go to for maintenance? You know, is that somebody who's you're going to physio because you've got a bit of a weak knee, or because you're going to a sports massage therapist, so you know you can do some of that hard work on your muscles? Like, how do you look after your body? And who is there to also support you through that? Because remember, your body is your craft, particularly those of you that are using it to demonstrate in a class or perform on stage. You know, your body is your craft and you need to look after it as carefully as you can. So what are the things that people are doing at the moment? Do you have any of this? Have you thought about any of this? Do you have people in place? A lot of blank faces.
I have sports massage once a month, and I always end up postponing it or cancelling it because something gets in the way. And like it's really important, even though I'm not teaching as much as I used to. Sorry, my son's away because this is another priority.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, this has just reminded me, like, oh my gosh, it's only sorry. You've got to just make sure that you put those appointments in and actually stick to them. I find that's the hardest part, personally.
Yeah. Okay. So you do have stuff, but you're not necessarily prioritizing it. Does anybody else have anything?
Yeah, it's something for me. I'm going to sound really, I don't know what it's something for me that's come with age. Like in my 20s, I thought I was invincible and I threw myself around, danced outside, wrecked all my joints, had to have surgery. And then I hit my 30s and I was like, my God, I wake up in the morning and I ache and my body does not respond the way it used to. And that's when the penny dropped that if I'm going to do this, I've actually got to like look after myself and invest in it. So yeah, now I'll see a physio. I've got private health insurance to claim that back and all those things that I've cringed and I feel really old about. But yeah, I kind of learned the hard way that this is something that I think it's that longevity thing, isn't it? Which is so hard. Like when you start out, you're like, you know, you don't foresee the future, but certainly it's something that I kind of have found. But I absolutely agree with Samina. It's like when you're looking at your kind of bank balance and you're making priorities, those kind of self-care things are always the first things to go, and actually they're probably the things we should prioritize the most, because you can't kind of pour from an empty cup, as they say. But I think there's also a thing, and I'm going to throw this out there, and apologies not to be devil's advocate, but there's like a bit of a badge of honor sometimes in the dance industry of like, yeah, I'm so tough and I've got these injuries, but I'm pushing through. And it's like, why are we pushing through? Like what is it like that we need to have this badge of honor, that we're kind of always kind of, yeah, still going despite being a bit broken? I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's really important to say thanks for sharing that, Anna, because it is, and people do it, and they keep on going, and actually you've really got to look at that longevity, because like you say, when you get another 10 years older, how's that dodgy knee that you've had and not got sorted, or and where does that leave you then? Your body is your career, your body is the thing that's going to keep going. So
yeah, like just to share, sorry, I don't want to dominate, but I literally had shoulder surgery and then was back teaching like 5 days later, like high on meds, like painkillers, and in a sling, because I was freelance and I was like, if I didn't turn up, I didn't get paid, and I got rent to pay. And I look back now and I still have shoulder issues, and I'm like, I did not do my therapy properly, I did not do my physio properly, and like, why did I do that? Why did I feel the need that I had to turn up to work 5 days after surgery? Like, it's just ridiculous. But I was too afraid to say no, and I was too afraid not to get paid. And it's just mad that we feel like we're in those positions. So yeah, I don't know what the solution is, but there we go.
And that's a real challenge that you've had there, because it, like you just said, you don't turn up, you don't get paid. So it is about it's finding the balance again, and it's working out, what in the long term is going to be better for you. And sometimes you have to make really difficult decisions that are not always decisions that you want to make, but you kind of have to make the choice. But it's having the knowledge to make those decisions, and to really sit down and think about those, rather than just, oh, well, I'm going to go, so I've got to go kind of thing. Actually sit down and think about this. Can you put money aside for a rainy day? Can you? So it's all about that kind of thinking and planning, and then making an informed decision. So yeah, so what do you need in your life? Do you need regular sports massage? Is it physio? Is it yoga classes to improve flexibility, balance, strength? Are you attending regular classes to keep on top of your technique? So yeah, I think just jot a few things down if you've got some bits there to kind of think about, and to go away with as well, and go, actually, here's some areas I might want to look at. And not everything costs money. I know some things do, but also you can look at how you might be able to do things cheaper. Like, if instead of going to a yoga class, can you do an online yoga at home? Fit it into your life a bit easier, it can take less time, you don't have to pay to go to a class. So it's thinking about other ways as well, and kind of being creative about that. Here we go. How are you fueling your body? So do you look after yourself? Are you eating well? Do you get a varied and balanced diet, kind of whole foods? Are you drinking plenty of water, ensuring that you eat regularly? Are you managing to sustain enough energy throughout your day, especially dancers, because if you're moving and you're constantly using up energy, how are you sustaining those levels? And does that change? Does it change because you're doing a different job one day, or you're doing a different job another day, or you're on tour for a couple of weeks and you're having to do full rehearsals and then shows? How do you sustain your energy levels, and are you taking care of yourself? You all know what you should be eating, I assume, but yeah, varied diet, balanced diet, whole foods as much as possible, and drinking plenty of water. If anybody has any questions around food, I can help put you in that direction, but I'm sure most of you know what you should be eating, but perhaps don't. But yeah, just considering that really. And if you are feeling tired or getting slumps in between, kind of food and running on empty, just making sure that you're eating enough really throughout the day as well, and understanding that some days are going to be more than others if you're sat at your desk doing admin days. Sleep. Do you have good sleep hygiene routine? So what I mean by this is, do you go to bed at the same time every night? Do you wind down before bed? Do you not watch screens before bed? You know, is your sleep hygiene good, or could it be better? Because I just think sleep is one of the pinnacle things that will help with your health and wellness. If you don't sleep, and anybody who's had a baby, I'm sure Samina, you'll be able to tell me, when you don't have sleep, it's hard. Or anybody who's ever had insomnia, it's really hard to get up and do your day. You know what it's like if you had a bad night's sleep, you wake up, you feel groggy, you feel tired, you feel angry or anxious or snappy or, you know, focused, like, ugh. So to be able to provide yourself with good sleep is just a great basis for health and wellness. I can't stress this enough. I think people quite often can forget how much sleep is important really to everything that we do as well. It's your body's rest time, it's your time to process information, it's everything. Our body works really hard throughout the day, and it's still working really hard throughout the night as well to kind of get us into that balance again. So do people sleep well generally? Is it something you find hard or struggle with? Thank you.
What I would say, and I know this is such a self-inflicted issue, I'm a big coffee drinker, and that I know messes with my sleep. And I try and sort of, I go through phases where I can just kind of run, keep going. I'm on kind of 5 hours sleep and it's absolutely fine. And then I'll have that point that I'll have a weekend and maybe a morning off, and I realize that I'm absolutely so tired. And I've probably then noticed that my anxiety's probably gone up a little bit in the day. My eating's gone a bit out the window, and yeah, I can kind of notice that I maybe mood swings, things like that. But it's one of those where kind of, where do you pull your energy from? And sometimes when you are really, really tired, caffeine is where I'll kind of go to the store, and then I've noticed that then I'm up at 11, midnight or whatever, thinking I can't sleep, and all I'm thinking about is today, the next day. I've got Sunday scaries, and I think that's something that I'm trying to manage, and I think I'm getting away with it at the moment, but I'm aware that it's not long term, it's not sustainable.
Yeah, and it's the cycle, isn't it? Because you're tired, so you drink the coffee, and because you've drunk all the coffee, then you can't sleep, and then you're tired again, and you kind of think you have to kind of break that cycle initially, don't you? And it's hard because it's habits, and breaking habits are not easy, but they are doable. And I think you have to put steps in place to go, okay, well, like decaf, can you drink decaf tea, coffee or tea, or, you know, and can you slowly kind of wean yourself off, maybe limit the number of coffees you have? And so it's those small steps again, kind of, rather than going right cold turkey. It's not always the best way. It's a way. It's not always the best way. So if it's going to be easier to trying to kind of break the cycle, have less coffees, have them earlier in the morning, don't take them past a certain amount of time in the day, to help you kind of get into that routine as well. And also using other methods then. Okay, well, I'm feeling really tired. Rather than reaching for the coffee, what else can I do? Which kind of leads me on nicely to the next bit, which is about, do you carve out time to relax and rest? Because not a lot of people do. And it's so hard when we're in such a fast-paced world where everything needs to be done now, everything's instant. You know, how do we make sure that we carve out time to relax and to rest? And this looks like different things for everybody, it really does. So, you know, is it that you do some yoga? Is it that you take a bath? Do you do some meditation? Do you journal? Is it running for you? Is that, you know, is that the way you relax? Is it watching TV? Like, what are those things that you do in order to relax? And when do you do those things? And do you do them when you need them? So again, just thinking about some of those things that work for you. So I really like doing yoga to relax. Quite often do some yoga at home, or actually I'll just watch a bit of TV in an evening if I feel like I just need to unwind a little bit. Sometimes I'll do a meditation, and that's a great one actually for energy. And meditations are kind of, people have a lot of assumptions about meditation. But I think if you can use kind of small tools, like sometimes people have them on like iPhone apps and stuff like that, you can just do like a 5-minute one, and it can be a guided thing. It just helps kind of brings you into the present moment, and it will help. It will really help actually with some of those energy levels. And I think people are quite skeptical about meditation in lots of ways. They think you have to sit there for hours and just focus on a flame or whatever it is. It's not about that. This is about you having time to go, okay, I've got all these thoughts running around my head, but that's okay. I'll see them. Okay, move on with the thoughts, you know, and kind of just taking the time to rest your brain is so important. So yeah, does anybody have anything they particularly do to relax or rest? No. Does anybody relax or rest ever? No. Okay. Then maybe this is something you definitely need to think about. Okay. Right, we'll move.
Sorry, can I just interrupt? So, okay, I think one of the important things about sort of relaxation time is actually opportunities to refuel your practice. So be it reading a book that you then it might just filter into your practice, or going to an art gallery, or just listening to music, that there is opportunity to kind of refuel yourself artistically, as well as just take some downtime at the same time. I think we often almost kind of upload ourselves to kind of go, oh, I've got to have relaxation time, and I've got to make sure I keep topping myself up as an artist. And actually, that's one of those things you can kind of combine and put together.
Absolutely. And I think I'll come on to that in a minute, but yeah, it is that thing. And actually, you can't come with your best ideas. You can't come with your artistic brain be at its absolute peak unless you have rested. You know, and quite often your best creative ideas will be in those moments, like Claire's just said, you know, where you're listening to music or something, you might get inspired by something and think, oh yeah, you know, it's when your brain has time to rest that it will come with your best ideas. So absolutely, thank you for sharing, Claire. So moving on to emotional health and kind of mental load. So as a freelancer, obviously we're juggling lots of balls, holding lots of space for people, and you have to be responsive and reactive all of the time. And I know that it sometimes feels like a huge responsibility and can feel massively overwhelming. So hands up who often feels overwhelmed. Yeah, so pretty much all of us. Yeah. So there's lots going on, there's lots to think about, there's lots to consider, lots of responsibility. And that's absolutely normal to feel like that, it really is. But on the same hand, what could you be doing better to support yourself, which is why you're here today. I really haven't got this click thing, have I? So just some things to think about here. So I'm just going to get my list up. Talking to someone sounds really simple, doesn't it? But just to think about, you know, who are those people in your life, in your world, in your professional life? It can be a trusted friend, it might be a colleague, or again, just a professional, or even a stranger sometimes, you know, talking to people about your challenges, about some of the things you're coming across. So it might be that you're kind of researching something that's hard to deal with, actually. You know, you're looking at something for your artistic practice that's difficult. And it might be, you might have heard something from a participant that's difficult to process. You know, who do you turn to for support? And I know Anna, was it Anna that mentioned you have a mentor? No, Lexi. It was Lexi, wasn't it? You have a mentor. So do you have a mentor? Would you like a mentor to give you advice around something specific? It might be about running your own company or something like that, or it might be about your artistic practice. Or perhaps it's getting training on something specific, or maybe it's a mental health professional that you need to talk to, or somebody in the space that can guide you through some of those difficult things that you're gonna uncover in your practice, maybe some triggers or some traumas from the past that might come to you. Or maybe it's just about spending time with your community, your dance community, to offload with and share some of those challenges or some of those burdens, and to get inspired by as well. Or it might be that you shadow a class to kind of, you know, get some ideas, some inspiration, some thoughts around that, and some conversations going. So just to think a little bit about who's in your circle at the moment, who do you rely on, who supports you, and what do you think you might be missing as well? So whether that's a mentor or, you know, a mental health professional, just to kind of think about it. And then, as you have just mentioned, Claire, using other creative outlets as well. So sometimes you might not want to talk through stuff. Sometimes you might just need time to process things, and you might need another form of expressing yourself, whether that's painting or singing or journaling or more dancing, making, crafting, whatever it is, whatever floats your boat, just something that you might use, another tool to go, I've had a really full-on day. I've took in loads of information, actually. I just need to kind of have some time on my own to kind of let those out. Rest, obviously we've talked a little bit about rest. How do you rest your mind? So again, kind of coming back to that, what's the thing that you can do to be in the moment? How does that help kind of create, you know, people talk about flow a lot, don't they? We heard that kind of form, like flow, that you're in your flow. It's being present, isn't it? You're not worrying about what's happening next week. You're not worrying about what's happening tomorrow or what happened yesterday. You're in your flow. You're just kind of being present. So taking the time to put that in. I put reflect here as well. So taking the time to reflect and evaluate. So that might be on your day. It might be on your project. It might be, you know, however it is. But what would you do differently next time? And this isn't to bash yourself over the head with, I was terrible at this, I should have done this better. It isn't about that. It's taking a compassionate look at, okay, what happened and why did it happen? How can I better my practice? How can I better my processes for myself and your own well-being and potentially other people as well that might have been involved? So really taking the time to reflect, and that doesn't have to be long. Sometimes it really doesn't. And then the last one I've got, love yourself. So I know this sounds really cheesy, I'm aware of that. But I just think it's important for us to be more accepting of ourselves, really, and loving towards ourselves the way we would be to other people. And I know this gets talked about quite a lot, but it's so important because otherwise we can't function from, you know, that balanced place. How do we function from that balanced place if we're not being kind to ourselves and we're not being compassionate? And I think at this point, it's probably important to mention like body image as well and self-esteem. I know there's been kind of lots of conversations around that recently. But I think, and I'm very aware that for body image and self-esteem can be tied up in lots of things in life from past experiences and trauma, and it can be very difficult and challenging for some of you to face. But I encourage you to be curious about how you treat yourself and how you speak to yourself in regards to how you would treat and speak to others as well, because I think just opening up that curiosity about, okay, well, why am I being so mean to myself? You know, why do I need to do that? I don't need to do that. It's not helpful. You know, it's not going to push you forward. So really taking that kind of positive frame on it, and coming from a place of compassion for yourself. So trying to reframe some of those thoughts, and is there an action then that you can take away from that? So as an example, I could say, well, I can't attend that class because I'm not good enough, you know. Well, why am I good enough? Is that just me telling myself I'm not good enough? Or has the person running the class told me that I'm not good enough? You know, what are you basing those assumptions on? Could you ask the person running the class, is this suitable for me? Can I come along? You know, they might turn around and say, yeah, of course you can. Okay. So you might be nervous about going, but actually you've already changed that frame of thought. Well, I'm not good enough. Well, they're telling you you can come along to it, so you are good enough. So sometimes it's just about reframing those thoughts and kind of beliefs as well. And I think showing up as you and being unapologetic about that. I think obviously you kind of touched on this, Lexi, in the earlier today about being having kind of separate parts of your life. And for a long time, I also did this. Kind of really separate. This is my professional work and this is my home life, and they don't cross over. But then I started to realize actually I'm the same person. I haven't changed. You can be professional but still be yourself and still bring all of those things along with you. You know, we are really complex people, but I think, and we come with a range of experience, And that's what makes us all really beautifully unique. And that's great. And that's what we always celebrate, isn't it? And that's what we're working towards. But I think quite often we hide parts of ourselves to appease other people, or to what we think appeases other people in the professional world. So I just encourage you to show up as yourself with all parts of your lives, you know, and you can still be a professional doing that. You know, I'm a mom, I'm a 37-year-old woman, I'm always going to bring those experiences with me. Those don't stay at the door. That is me, that is who I am. And all of those experiences are valid, just like you will come with your lived experience with you. And that is valid, and who you are. And it's your practice, you know, you are you. So just to kind of put that out there as well. And on the conversations of those things, just to say that obviously if you're ever struggling and you need professional mental health support, there's a few places obviously you can go to. Your GP, first point of call, absolutely recommend you speak to your GP. You can self-refer through a lot of local NHS providers. So I know here in Warwickshire we have an IAPT service, so you can just call them up, tell them what issues you're facing, and they will quite often put you on a list to go to whatever they think you need. And there's lots of kind of helplines and things which I've added on there as well. So I'm also a first aider, trained mental health first aider. That's it. So my door's always open as well. So please, if you're ever struggling, please talk to me or somebody else. Just talk to somebody, because I always advocated for the change around conversation for mental health as well. So please do pick up the phone. So I'm aware I've talked a lot, so I'm just going to run through these really quickly, and we're going to have a bit of a chat. So is everybody okay? You're still there? You're still hanging on? Yeah, good. Okay. So top tips. I know we've talked about a lot of stuff. This is kind of like condensing it all in, really. So boundaries, put boundaries in place. So I know you were talking about this earlier, Anna, but be clear about your expectations for yourself and for other people, your time, and also how you work, because we all work in different ways and not everybody works the same way. So it's being really clear about the people you're working with, about what the expectations are of your project, of your day, whatever it is, your time and how you work, and also for you just to know those things. I put do your research and find your why. So when you embark on a project, be clear about why you're doing this for you, so you know why you're doing this, and then reevaluate this as you go on, because it will help you pick the right projects to work with, the right people to work with, and it will ultimately look at that thing, you know, am I doing this for financial reasons? Am I doing this because actually I want to gain loads of experience, you know, and it's really working out what those reasons are and why you're doing it. I'll put section your time off, because dividing your time into sections is so helpful, so you're not trying to do everything at once. It's one of the things I learned very early on in my career as a freelancer. I was just like, answering a phone call here, trying to do emails here, whilst trying to do an application here. It blew my mind. I got in a right mess. So I very quickly worked out, okay, well, I need to section who I'm working for these people on these days, and actually I don't answer calls unless they're urgent or whatever it is. You know, I worked out a way which worked for me. But yeah, and things, just even things like working on applications, you know, if you're struggling with those kind of things, work on smaller sections at times to say, right, tonight I'm going to do this section and that's it. And jot down bullet points first and then flesh it out later. So just some really simple kind of ways of breaking things down for yourself, rather than you go, oh, got to do this massive application all tonight. You know, try and section it off for yourself. Be clear and on how and when you are contactable. So I know, I think Katie, you were talking about this, weren't you? So how is it acceptable for you to be communicated with? I'm a parent, past 5 o'clock, I'm with my kids. If somebody wants to call me, I put on my emails, if it's urgent, you can call me, I will answer the phone. But other than that, I'm not on my emails, I'm not on my phone, because that's time that I spend with my family. So it's working out what works for you again, you know. And again, on the opposite flip side of that, people work on an evening sometimes and say, I'm not expecting a reply to this. This is just my working hours because I'm a parent now. My kids are asleep. I'm going to work, you know, whatever that is for you. So really think about how is acceptable for you to be communicated, I have known it be the last straw for some people who have quit jobs over artists calling them at 11 o'clock at night about leave pads. So it happens. Communicate your needs. We've all got very different needs, but really thinking before you start a project about what your needs are. So do you need to send in a guidance document about how someone can work with you best? Or a working sheet that goes to employers or any other collaborators you're working with? And what is it that you really need to be working at your absolute best? Is there any additional support? So whether that's equipment, or is it another specialist in the space, and thinking about kind of access requirements too. So, and this is a great thing to ask anybody else you're working with as well when you start a project. You know, what do you need from me? What do you need in order to be working at your best, so you can both understand each other or your team of people. I put pause because I think this came up earlier. I think it was you, Frankie, that might have mentioned this, but about saying yes or no to things and not knowing when to say yes or no to things. But sometimes we don't pause to think about it. We'll automatically go yes, or oh, no, or I'm not sure. In your head, you're going, I'm not sure about this thing, but you're saying yes at the same time you're thinking about it. And I think it's okay to say, actually, that's great, thank you. Can you send me some more information? Is it okay if I think about it? You know, and you might want to put a time on that. You know, could I have half an hour? Could I have an hour? Could I have a day? Could I have a week? Whatever you need, just to think about it, to go away and to go, actually, is this going to work for me? Does this work financially? Is this going to work for me in terms of my time? How does that work? And it may be that you go, actually, this is only going to work if, at which point you can go back and say, these are the things I need in order for this to work for me. Can you do this or not? So you're setting yourself up for a better environment to work in. Is everybody okay? I'm not running through this fast. If anybody has got any questions or anything they want to say, just throw them in. I've got ask for help. Because I think quite often we don't ask for help, we just kind of get on with it. And actually there's so many people that are willing to help. You know, ask a question, oh, I don't know how to tackle this question on this application. Who can I ask? You know, ask people. If they're too busy or they don't have the time or they don't want to help, they'll tell you. But you've not lost anything by asking people. And people are generally really generous, is what I've found. And it's something that I always told people when they came out of university. People are too scared to go and ask people. They just ask. People are really nice generally. And if they don't want to help, that's their problem. So yeah, I think just try and remember that one. I put touch base. So again, this can be about having effective communication. If you're working with a team of people or collaborators, you know, find a specific day or a time, maybe in the week or however what works for your schedule, that you just meet together and you touch base. I think it's really important to keep that communication open. And can just really help the process as you go along on things. And the same for kind of a check-in and check-out. So we did check-in today. So a daily check-in, maybe that's with yourself, with your team, whoever you're working with. And I also think setting intentions for the day is a really good one. It just takes like 2 minutes to just go, what are my intentions for the day? And that doesn't always have to be a to-do list. It isn't about ticking off, well, I've got to do this application and I'm going to teach this class and I'm going to do this. It might be that, actually, do you know what? I'm not feeling great today. So I'm just going to be really kind to myself. I'm just going to take it slow. But just by showing that compassion to yourself can really change your day. And just like having that intention set, just remind yourself through the day can really kind of have an effect on how you feel and how your day goes. And then the last few ones I've got are reflect and evaluate, which I think I talked about, but yeah, taking time out to reflect at the end of the day, end of your project. And I'll urge you to celebrate the small wins, something I always say in my coaching practice, but celebrate the small wins. We don't do it enough, you know. I think, you know, just, oh my gosh, that young people had a great day, had a great time in my session today. That's great. That's really great, you know, because it is, because that young person, it means the world. They've had a brilliant time. And I think sometimes we don't credit ourselves enough. So be honest with yourself, be honest with others about, you know, recognizing your strengths and where you have challenges and own them, because I think we quite often pretend, oh, it's okay, I don't really know how to do this thing, but I'm going to do it anyway. and it makes us really anxious. We do a bad job of it. It doesn't go well. Ugh, you feel terrible about it. You know, actually, if you said in the beginning, actually, I'm not so good at this. Would somebody else lead on this? Or, you know, perhaps you think, okay, I'm not so good at this. I'm going to go and get training, or I'm going to go and ask for some support. So really just kind of helping them pick it up as well in those things. So being honest, and also being realistic about your time and your commitment levels. If you can't commit to something or you don't have the time to do that, just be honest about it. Say what you can do, and sometimes that's good enough or it's not good enough, and just kind of work it out from there. But gather resources. So what resources do you need to thrive in your environment, which I kind of talked about earlier. And these might be practical things, or it might be things to inspire you as you kind of go on in your practice, whatever you need. So, and then having some me time. So this is the kind of rest and relaxation we said. So taking some time for you, and you know, to be playful, to be creative, to feel free, have some downtime, be in a state of flow, whatever that is, but to provide your brain with rest time, because it needs your best ideas. And then the last one is to plan. And I've put plan with an open mind, because, you know, we have to be flexible. We have to go into our environments, and we have to be open and stay reactive or responsive. And we're always learning. Remember, that is always room to learn, but that's a really positive thing. It's not a negative thing. You can't fail. You're just learning. You're learning something new all the time. So it's really to remember that as well. So I know I've rushed through those things. Does anybody have any questions? There's a lot to think about there. What I would like you to do, I mean, we can have a chat about some of your challenges if you like, and bring those to the table. Does anybody kind of have anything specific, or want to talk about anything that we've kind of just gone through, anything that sticks out for you? Yeah, Katie?
So it's actually, I don't think we've touched on it yet, but it's about the feeling of like isolation and loneliness sometimes you get with a freelancer, and like how, if all of your projects at the moment are just you are leading yourself and there's not really a team, how to kind of deal with that, how to make that work. Yeah,
That's something that you currently feel.
Yeah, so a lot of my projects are literally just me leading, and then there's like maybe one other person, that maximum.
Okay. And do you have a kind of community of people that you could reach out to?
Like personal, yeah, but in terms of career-wise, well, yeah, but they're not necessarily on the project. Okay. So they're not, you know, they're not on that headspace.
Do they need to be on the project?
I don't know, it depends what it is.
What are you looking for in somebody else? Is it to talk, what is it to share challenges with? Like, what are you looking for within that person, or those people to support you?
I suppose it's that thing of like, when you're sat at home on your own and you haven't even had a meeting with a person in like days, like feeling like, oh my god, I need to like push through this, and I'm like, the feeling of not being on your own with it, but with this specific thing, I don't know, it's like not a clear thing in my mind what I need and what I want, but it was just a thing to voice.
So how do you feel before you're taking the call then?
As in, when I do speak to people in meetings.
Yeah. So you've just said you've been at home by yourself, or you've not spoken to them, and you're taking this meeting, you're saying you're having to push through the meeting. What is it? Well,
not push through the meeting. I mean, like push through the work. So in a meeting, actually, I am like probably the most productive, because I can bounce off other people and I can use that time really valuably. But sometimes it's like maybe the lack of motivation when you're on your own as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So you just feel like you've kind of with your own thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anything you think you could do that perhaps would be like working in a shared environment, or is there any way you can go that's not maybe at your house? Or
yeah, I have got that. I've got in Solihull, they've got a shared space that I'm like already signed up to. Maybe I don't use that as much as I should. So that's probably a good one to think about. But
Or is
yeah,
there a way you could structure your work so you not necessarily have like, say you might have like 5 meetings on one day and then don't have any for the next 4 days? Is there a way you can kind of structure the way you work different, perhaps?
yeah, possibly. I mean, the way I work, it doesn't work for everybody, but it's how it works for me. I don't have set days for set projects. I work across whatever is needed at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So if a meeting pops up, that's what I'm doing that day. So maybe it's more for me of like, let's say every Thursday I'm working in this shared space, or maybe it's the day of working in that place rather than the meeting schedule.
Mm-hmm. So you could work around actually like an environment location.
Yeah.
Do you think you would feel more inspired being somewhere like, say, working in an arts centre? Or
yeah, definitely.
is that something that you could change?
It's just the motivation to do it and give myself like the come on, leave your house.
Well, maybe it's just one day.
Yeah.
Could it be 1 day a week where you go and work somewhere different?
Yeah.
And it might be the same place, or it could be, well, actually next week I'm going to go and work at Mac, and then the week after that I'm going to go and work at the Hippodrome, or the week after that I'm going to go and sit in somebody else's house with them. You know, what is that? What does that look like? Like I said, we don't have to do everything every day, do something different, but would it help to start with, you know, 1 day a week, or 1 morning a week, or 1 afternoon a week, you go and work somewhere in a different space?
Yeah, I think it would. It's just committing to it. That's the thing for me.
What's the barriers around the commitment?
Oh, I don't know. I really have there's no excuse. Absolutely zero excuse.
Is it because you're used to working in your house?
Yeah, it probably is. It's like that. I can't be bothered to leave. I'll just sit here in my pajamas and no makeup and just like
So you
feel laziness.
Let's go back to your why, Katie. What's your why?
My why of what, like doing the whole thing, or why I'm sat here in my pajamas right now?
Both. No. I mean, like, what's the why of why you're doing what you do, and what would be the motivation for you to get up and out? What would be the benefits to that?
Yeah, I need to maybe formulate that properly. Yeah, something for me to think of.
How committed are you to changing it?
50% committed.
Okay. So how can we get you higher?
I think that's the thing. If I see the change, I'll commit to it, and that's my struggle.
Okay. So can you commit to doing a morning, afternoon, day? What would work?
Yeah.
For you?
I'm going to leave here and I'm going to do that. I'm going to book rooms in, so I've got it booked already, and I'm going to.
Okay.
That's my promise to you guys.
When are you going to do it, and how long are you going to do it for?
I'm going to do Thursdays for a month.
Excellent. And you're going to see how you go.
Yeah.
Fab. So how committed are you now on a scale of 1 to 10?
Well, we've gone to a 6.
We've moved up. That's good. Well, I'll take that. I'll take it. And the group's holding you accountable. So we all want to hear about how you're getting on Thursdays.
Amazing.
Does anybody else want to bring anything up or talk about anything? Any thoughts, feelings?
Can I? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Lexi, I've got to go now, but I just wanted to quickly say around the point of finances and kind of self-care and investing in your health and well-being with services. I think someone brought up the point around it being sorry. You're so loud because I'm talking. Oh my gosh. Someone said something around the point of it being like an additional expense, but I think we have to think when we're kind of taking on projects what the fee is, if it's negotiable or if it's set by an organisation or set by yourself, to include the price of your self-care because you are your business, and obviously your tax and obviously everything else. So it might say it's, you know, £300 a day, £100, whatever it is a day, but actually you're probably only actually taking home about 50% of that as like a profit, so to speak. So I just thought that was an important thing for people to have in their heads as freelancers, just anyway to keep reminding ourselves all the time.
So you're saying kind of cost that within your fee essentially. So
yeah, I think you have to, because otherwise and then you treat it as an additional expense when actually it is a running cost, isn't it? It's not like on top of anything, it's a running cost. So just the way you need electricity to power your laptop, you need your physio to make sure your body's working.
I love that. I love that thinking, Samina. That's great. That is absolutely. So yeah, and maybe it is about looking at your fees and what you charge, and is there a way you can notch it up slightly? So if your fee is £150 a day, can you up it to 160? And if you're working a week, it's 5 days, you've got an extra 50 quid to go and get a massage with at the end of the week.
Yeah. And I think, sorry, one last thing before I go as well. I think also it's really important for us to have that kind of, it depends how you're freelancing. If you're working for an organisation who has employees, that, oh my God, it's only when I start talking does he make that. It's really important that you let you're confident enough to kind of advocate for yourself with the organisation that you're working for, and to say, you because it's easy for them to treat you like an employee, depending on the kind of organisation you're working for. Or if you're, I don't know, if you're being paid by a school, for example, as a freelancer, you're going to have completely different needs to someone on payroll. So you kind of need to go in with that confidence of, I don't know, just your worth, I guess. Well, I'll stop now.
Thanks, Amina. That's really helpful. So yeah, going in confident. And I think it goes back to that kind of communicating your needs, doesn't it? What are your needs, and how are your needs different to other people's as well? And the more people advocate for those things, the better the working environment will become as well. And we've all talked about inclusive practice. We all keep hammering on the door about, look, you need to change these things in the way you work your organisation to make them more accessible. They have to listen. So it works the same way, doesn't it? Absolutely. Somebody else have their hand up?
I was just going to say, this wasn't what I was going to say, but just like a thought, it's really hard to know how to value yourself, especially at the start, because you just go off what people say work costs, so per hour to deliver a workshop. Like, I've had a few people talk to me about offers and saying, oh, they're offering £25 an hour. I'm sorry, it's not more. And £25 an hour is all I've ever known to be offered as a high level. And then I've got people saying, well, that isn't very much, like, I hope you're okay to take it this time. So it's, I think, valuing yourself when you have no idea what the value of things are, other than what organizations or other people are telling you they do or they offer, is really difficult to then know what it is just for the session you're delivering or the kind of work you're committed to, and then add the extra things like Samina's mentioned, especially with like tax and stuff like that, putting aside certain money. I think I don't really know how to overcome that until you've obviously got the experience of what most people are offering and what you think you are offering. So it's really important, but it's a difficult one to like hurdle over at the start. But what I was going to say as well is that something that I find challenging being quite fresh into this is I want to give myself time to commit to creating the networks and the connections to be freelance and get work rolling and get something in that's more regular. And to start with, I was like, I've got almost like a month's worth of pay that can give me security for a month to figure that out before I then look at doing retail or whatever, just something to give me the stability financially every week. And I don't know, when it comes down to like looking at your actual expenses or whatever, I don't know how long to give myself to really pursue freelance fully before I have to find an income that's steady elsewhere. And that obviously is generally not going to be in dance or the arts straight away, just because of how long it takes to apply for jobs and get feedback and all of this kind of stuff. And it's something, I was really trying to hold off and give myself a solid month or two to just commit to being unemployed and getting little bits of cover work here and there to establish it. But that's really daunting at the same time. The more I look at, like, I'm taking a class tomorrow and I've just had to look at my account to send the money for the class, and I look at my account and go, oh, right, money needs to come in. And it's a hard balance of like priority for setting yourself up and then priority to survive in the current present. if that makes sense. I don't really know how to overcome that.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely. And I think most freelancers will have found themselves in that position and have found themselves in that position before. So it's going back to your priorities again, and it's going back to where you have to make difficult decisions, unfortunately. But it is about, you know, do you need money to pay the bills? How are you going to get that? How are you going to get that quick? So maybe that is, for now, you have to take a job or find another source of income. But it's also then making sure you have almost like a business plan, really, in that sense of then, well, okay, while I'm going to take this cafe job, I'm going to do 4 shifts a week, whatever, and that's going to be my money to take me in. What can I do on top of that then to be getting myself into other freelance roles? You know, am I going to commit to 2 networking events a month, say? You know, is that doable financially? Is that doable? Can you get there? Can you pay to get there by transport? Do you need to pay for a ticket for something? You know, is it free? Whatever. So really working out, kind of looking at a bit of a plan, really, of how you're going to spend your time and how you're going to make enough money to pay your bills, but then also do the things that you love. And it is kind of, and that will shift as you kind of go on. And it's really tricky. That beginning bit is really tricky. But I think just being clear about to yourself why you're doing something, you know, yes, I'm going to go and do this, and I'm giving my time for free here because I really want to learn this, or I really want to talk to that person, or, you know, I think there might be some other opportunities to get in with that person, potentially is going to give me some work, you know, so therefore I'm going to spend my time doing this thing for free. I'm not saying go and do things for free, that isn't what I'm saying, but it is about kind of judging those spaces about what is working for you within that. So, and I don't know if anybody else wants to speak to this about your experiences of doing stuff. I mean, I started off freelancing with Johnny and he said to me, haven't got any money to pay you, but I'd really like to put in an Arts Council application. Will you help me on it with the foreseeable that you'll be working with me on this project? So I was like, yeah, let's go for it. So I did. It was probably one of the first Arts Council applications I did like fully together. So I learned a hell of a lot from it. And then, yeah, so like 10 years down the line, I'm still working with him. So you have to kind of go, okay, how is this benefiting me and where is that benefiting me? And just being clear about how much you can give to that and how much you can't give to that and where you need to place your time, really thinking about that. But yeah, if somebody else wants to go for it.
Can I jump in on that? Because I think this idea of working for free is, it's an awful phrase. I think it's different as well. I think it's about, is this something I'm investing in my practice with? Do you know what I mean? So you invested in that time you spent with Johnny doing that. You probably learned a lot doing that first Arts Council application, and out of all of that, you know, your career in many ways has probably grown and blossomed. So I am definitely not an advocate of doing anything for free, but like you say, if it's an investment, whether it's going on a networking event, going to a performance, whatever it is, that's the way to look at it, because it shifts your head completely.
Absolutely.
I just want to jump in because Lexi, we kind of like, we started our careers at the same time, both went off into like companies and then have now become freelance, just at different points. The biggest thing for me when I went freelance was realizing the people that were already around me that I'd established through a company, because people don't see you as the company, they see you as you, because it's your work that you're doing. So like it was such a learning curve for me when people came to me because they saw the way I produced, not the way the company was. Like it was, do you know what I mean? It like they value you and the network already knows you exist, and you accessed DLG like years ago. So you've established your name within DLG anyway. Like I think that's a really valuable thing to learn and understand. And most of my work now has come through those connections that I already existed like through that work, because I must have done a good job at some point for them and they recognized it. So yeah, just like understanding that like you are the thing and they already know you exist.
Yeah, I think we all forget how many connections we already have. I've got loads from obviously the DOGs all across the West Midlands. I'm actually more based in the East Midlands, but I trained here, so I have the connections and I've done the communication with people, and most people, like you said, are like, oh great, it's nice to hear that you're back, but we don't have anything right now, we'll keep you in mind. And it's just that like little ladder that's like, when will something become available? And also with the West Midlands, I appreciate that the DOG has been huge for kind of connections, and it will continue to be, but I still have a maybe slight anxiety about it being a conflict of interest from working through the organisation and then going to it mostly through that, which will peter out, but it's in the early phases, it's a little bit awkward sometimes. So I'm conscious of that as well, especially with the work that happens in the West Midlands, because that's where I've been for the past 4 years.
Sorry, apologies about my dog. Yes, it is really tricky. It's really tricky. I think just being clear about your priorities and where you're going to spend the time, and just getting yourself to those networking events, definitely, and asking, looking really what you want to do as well. Like, where are those things that you want to do? Do you want to make work? Who can you talk to? Who can give you some opportunities? Who can give you that insight as well? So being really clear about how you spend your time. I think actually some of the session, if you're signed up to the sessions, because Oliver's doing one, isn't he, soon, about a business planning, that may really help you. Anything else anybody wants to talk about? Or share or bring up? No? Right, sorry. My little one, he's there. He's sharing what hellos. Are you going to say hello to everybody? Hello. Sorry. So we're going to end. I know we've run over slightly, so I don't want to keep you any much more longer. We kind of ran out of time, really. I'm trying to work this thing. Just to think about something you can take away from today. So looking at a goal, and this can be a big goal, it can be a small goal, however you want to do it. But just to write yourself something down about what you would like to do that's going to improve your health and wellness within your practice, within your life. So I want you to be using the SMART goal kind of measurement. So this is being specific, so adding the detail. Ooh, so just have a look. Claire, you there? She just gone. Being measurable, so how far or how much you're going to do something. Attainable, so it has to be achievable, something that's achievable. So not like, I'm going to go and be the president of Mexico. I don't know, it might be achievable, but and it's in line with your why. So look at your priorities again and your motivation. Is it in line with that? So really putting your goals in line with those things, and then giving yourself time based. So limited time frame. Are you going to do it tomorrow? Are you going to do it next week? Is it going to be 3 months time? So really thinking about that. And alongside this, I also want you to think about what your barriers might be and how you can overcome those. Who or what is going to hold you accountable? So is it this group, like we're holding Katie accountable to her Thursday? We're going to be asking her next time we see her. Is it a person? Is it like reminders on your phone? Is it some sort of visual aid you've got that you might put on your wall? Is it a tick list? Is it post-it notes? What is it? You might be, anything like that. That could a group that you attend, you're going to tell people to hold you accountable to it. And what tools you might need as well to help you do that. So again, is it a planner? Is it a journal? Is it some sort of listening aid? Some sort of reflecting aid for a book or journaling again? Is it any reading materials you might need, or any other kind of resources as well? So just take a couple of minutes just to think about what your goal will be for the next few days, few weeks, few months to take away with you. And if anybody wants to share, they can, or you can hide it for yourselves. Have you all got something? Yeah. Fab. Does anybody want to share? Don't have to, don't want to. All good. Okay. And last thing I want to say is just to remind you to be compassionate to yourself and to be kind and to always hold that in mind, because I think it can change the way that we look at things and our perspective on things, and we're all our worst critics. So do be compassionate and kind to yourself. I'm here. If you ever want to chat about anything, producing, wellness, whatever it is, I'm here. Just pick up the phone. I'm more than happy to have a chat with any of you. If there's anything that kind of came up for you today that you feel like you need to chat over again, please do get in touch. And the same, if you've got any comments, feedbacks, questions, anything, then please do get in touch with me. You can follow me on Instagram. I'm at Ray Rose Wellness and Kirsten Dance. That's my website for my health and wellness stuff. And I think, I don't know whether you've all got my email, but it's just kirstentranter@outlook.com. Again, so you can message me on there. So please feel free to keep in touch. Yeah, thanks all so much for today. I'm sorry, I feel like it's been quite rushed. We've got through a lot of stuff there, and I feel like I've talked a lot at you. So I'm sorry we didn't have kind of more time at the end to kind of go over stuff. But yeah, as I said, I'm available for a further chat if anybody, or if anybody wants to stay on at the end and have a quick chat, that's fine. So thank you very much. Katie, do you want to say anything about the next, what's coming up?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Firstly, Kirsten, big love for this session. I feel like I've learnt a lot, and I've really used you to the max, so I do apologise. Yeah, the next session coming up is an in-person masterclass. So it's a day-long one with Zoe and Rachel, and it's based around the critical mass playbook, but focusing on kind of epic, inclusive mass collaboration, mass participation. So I know there's a lot of people that were involved in critical mass directly that already have that kind of knowledge, but I know based on my conversation that at the summit in that breakout group, I think there's a lot to be applied to kind of regular practice as well, even if it's just not on that scale. So I found that really useful. I'm quite looking forward to going and seeing what is presented as part of that. There's also a few more online ones coming up. As you said, there's around business models, around inclusivity, but just as I said at the start, keep checking in on that website, because I'm just going to update as they get confirmed and as contracts go out and stuff like that. And you're of course welcome to attend any and all of them, and please let me know if there's one that you think is missing, because I really want to make sure like the network is like telling me what they want rather than me just guessing. So yeah, thank you all for coming again, really do appreciate it, and spread the word, tell people to come.
We will.
Thanks again, Kirsten.
Thank you.
Thanks all so much for being here today.
Thanks, Kirsten. Thanks, Katie.
Bye. 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 Is that all right?
That was great.
I talked a lot.
I wasn't lying as well.
We're in that time.
No, I mean, I hope you're okay. Obviously, you're getting paid in, well, it's a set fee, so I hope you don't mind going over.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. No, I don't mind going over. I just, yeah, it's always one of those, and you never know how much people are going to talk or how many people are going to be on. So you kind of like, oh, I felt like I've just realised I've got